Mike, this is what Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson shows up, everybody makes money, Jake Paul is, I don't have to tell you guys, you guys know, Mike Tyson is the A+++ side of that thing.
Dana White recently canceled Jake Paul faster than one of Jake's cringy YouTube pranks, all due to the scripted nature of his fight with Mike Tyson. From the start, Dana called it out, stating there was no way a legend like Tyson would actually need to step into the ring with Jake Paul.
And he was right.
The Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script.
How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It just
Tyson doesn't need the paycheck, drama, or dental work from fighting someone who likely Googles boxing before each match. But Jake insisted, and now the truth is clear. Tyson's decision was more than just about the fight.
Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people, because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him.
Dana just spilled major tea on what really happened behind the scenes, and surprise, turns out the whole thing was more staged than Jake's TikTok apology videos. But before diving into the juicy details of Jake's antics, let's rewind to what Dana had to say about this nonsense from the very beginning.
Mike Tyson, Jake Paul was scripted. That was a scripted fight. It was blatantly obvious. Go watch Mike train. And John Jones is an absolute problem. The scariest man on the planet.
You honestly think this kid's going to do anything to me? He's not good. He's not going to me out. He's not going to do this. And you saw him. He tripped when he was walking down the thing. He had a hard time walking up the stairs. He had a knee brace on. And Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him.
Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson sounds like a carnival sideshow. And that's exactly how Dana White saw it. The UFC president wasn't just unimpressed, he was insulted. In typical Dana fashion, he went scorched earth, calling the entire spectacle a farce. And honestly, who could blame him? A 57-year-old legend with creaky knees and a knee brace still outclasses the self-proclaimed future of boxing. There's really not much to applaud in a matchup like that.
He's not going to knock me out. He's not going to do this. And you saw him. He tripped when he was walking down the thing. He had a hard time walking up the stairs. He had a knee brace on. And Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him. He made a ton of money, and I know people are mad. You stayed home on a Saturday night, but you didn't pay for it. You know what I mean? And, Mike, this is what Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson shows up, everybody makes money, Jake Paul is, I don't have to tell you guys, you guys know, Mike Tyson is the A+++ side of that thing. And he was right. Jake Paul couldn't do shit to him.
Dana White's disdain for Jake Paul was obvious. He didn't just question Paul's abilities, he outright canceled them. To White, the so-called fight wasn't a display of skill. It was a cringeworthy reminder that Jake's boxing career thrives on gimmicks, not grit. Dana made it clear that boxing deserved better than this overhyped spectacle. Jake Paul isn't exactly known for taking the hard road. His strategy has always been to cherry-pick opponents who generate headlines, not provide real competition. White, one of Jake's loudest critics, wasn't holding back this time. To him, Jake isn't a boxer, he's a marketer. A good one, sure, but that doesn't make him a fighter.
So you're saying that it was scripted because Tyson trained really hard, but then was like throwing the fight in the ring?
The way Tyson trained, the way he looked, the way he moved.
Training it and fighting, though. Training it and fighting. I can get on board. I don't want to use the term scripted. Here's what my takeaway was after watching the fight, and it reminded me a little bit of Mayweather-Pacquiao from a few years ago when we didn't get them in there.
The Mike Tyson match marked the peak of Jake Paul's absurdity. Dana White slammed it as proof that Jake prioritizes entertainment over authenticity. Why face someone in your weight class when you can call out a 57-year-old icon? Despite his age and limitations, Tyson exposed Jake's lack of real skill. Tyson wasn't in peak condition, but still managed to show Jake's deficiencies. That's not a win for Jake, it's an embarrassment.
Jake Paul saying he was banned from all UFC events and then put the costume on.
Yeah, nobody's banned from the UFC. Listen, that kid knows how to market and do his thing, and all that good shit. But yeah, no, Jake Paul's welcome to come to UFC.
Yeah, no, he's just saying that to make it seem like I wasn't banned, but definitely has sent an email to me saying I'm trespassed from all UFC events and I'm not welcome back, etc. Of course, Dana doing what he does best, which is lie.
Mike Tyson may not be the same ferocious knockout artist he was in the 80s, But at 57, he's still no slouch. Even with limited mobility, Tyson's technique was miles ahead of Jake Paul's. Watching Tyson dominate key moments of the fight was a clear reminder that experience and skill outweigh social media followers. Dana White did miss the chance to call out the ridiculousness of the matchup. Tyson, who likely spends more time icing his knees than training, still controlled the fight. Meanwhile, Jake struggled to land anything meaningful. If this fight was meant to cement Jake as a legitimate boxer, it had the opposite effect. It highlighted just how far he is from being a serious contender.
You see some of these crossover fights. Obviously, I know that you and Jake Paul have had your disagreements. Do you think that Jake's gotten better as a boxer?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And listen, what Jake Paul has accomplished is he's fighting old guys.
Yes.
He's fighting, all he fights are old guys and whatever. But listen, say what you want, he wins. And he makes money. So he's doing his thing, you know?
You just don't see it as a sustainable thing?
He fought Tommy Fury and lost. Where's that rematch? Where's that rematch?
I don't know where it's at. I know he's fighting a 57-year-old champ now. What's
58.
58. Don't want to take a year away from you, Mike.
He's fighting a guy that's almost 60 years old. And you know what I mean? I mean, that says it all. That says it all. There's nothing else that needs to be said. That's his shtick. That's his thing. He fights guys that are old, usually undersized guys, older, undersized guys.
Dana White detests the degradation of combat sports, and to him, Jake Paul embodies everything wrong with modern boxing. White can just criticize Jake's fight with Tyson. He used it as a case study in how to destroy sports credibility. In Dana's view, boxing has become a playground for influencers, entertainers, leaving real athletes sidelined and undermining the integrity of the sport.
Tyson was right, and I was wrong. You know, you guys know the whole story about Shark Week, and you know, if you don't, I begged him not to do the Roy Jones fight. You're too old. I love you. I don't want to see you take any more punishment. So I set him up on Shark Week. He got paid good money, and he's like, you so he almost flipped out the last day and was ready to kill everybody on the boat because he had to jump in with all these sharks.
Dana White compared Jake Paul's career to a reality TV show, scripted, shallow, and focused solely on creating viral moments. For Jake, it's not about skill or dedication. It's about how many people you can get to click buy on a pay-per-view. However, even that route wasn't available. The fight aired on Netflix, a move Dana saw as a clear sign of failure for someone who prides himself on being a draw. Streaming a fight on a platform known for binge-watching sitcoms didn't exactly scream boxing royalty to Dana.
I'm about to sneak into the Sphere. 2 years ago, I was banned from all UFC events by Dana.
Jake Paul's delusions of grandeur include openly claiming he wants to fight Canelo Alvarez, one of the world's best pound-for-pound boxers. Dana White didn't just roll his eyes, he practically laughed Jake out of the room. He called it delusional hype, and honestly, Dana isn't wrong. Jake's ambition far exceeds his actual skill and experience.
Tyson here, and him and Tyson are going to make a shitload of money.
A bunch of money.
And good for both of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Good for both of them. Like I say, Jake Paul can fight. It's not like Jake Paul can't fight.
Yeah.
Jake Paul just won't fight anybody.
Jake Paul struggled against a 57-year-old Tyson with limited mobility, yet he's targeting a fight with Canelo. It's like a middle schooler challenging LeBron James one-on-one. Dana White was blunt. Jake needs to stop chasing fantasy matchups and focus on opponents in his league. But then again, those kinds of fights wouldn't generate the headlines Jake craves.
Canelo can fight real guys and keep his credibility intact and still make that kind of money. You know what I mean? Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people because that you know,
So where does Jake Paul go from here? Dana White's verdict was clear. The fight didn't elevate Jake's career, it exposed its fragility. The hype can only carry him so far. Eventually, he'll have to prove himself against real competition, and if the Tyson fight is any indication, he's not ready for that challenge. Jake has built an empire on controversy and viral moments, but as Dana pointed out, that's not enough to sustain a boxing career. The sport demands more authenticity, skill, and a willingness to face genuine challenges. Until Jake embraces that, he'll remain what Dana White has always seen him as, a showman, not a fighter.
fight real guys and keep his credibility intact and still make that kind of money. You know what I mean? Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people because that you know.
The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight will be remembered, but not for the reasons Jake hoped. It wasn't a triumph or milestone. It was a spectacle. A messy, embarrassing one that left fans disappointed and critics like Dana White outraged. Dana's scathing assessment wasn't just a critique of Jake Paul, it was a wake-up call for boxing as a whole. The sport deserves better than this. Until Jake steps up and starts treating boxing with the respect it deserves, he'll remain the face of its decline. Boxing deserves more than gimmicks and cheap headlines. It needs real fights, real athletes, and respect for the sport. It's time to demand a return to authenticity. Hold influencers accountable, support fighters who prioritize skill over spectacle, and focus on true competition. Let's bring the focus back to dedication, skill, and the legacy of boxing. Join the conversation and stand up for the sport.